Oh, hey. Hey. What's up, everybody? Uncle Matt here. National Spaghetti Day. I'm doing a national day of every day for 2025 here on the channel. So just wrapped up National Spaghetti Day. You'll see that video at some point in time. We're live. Haven't done a live show in a while. We're back. Happy to be back. Happy to be back on the channel. Jumping right in. Alrighty, getting some comments. Let's go ahead and see. Hey, the Connor Sports Channel says, hi, are you going to Monday Night Raw? I don't have tickets. I don't know. I think like February-ish is when WWE's coming here. I know AEW is going to be here in Clarksville. Goes up the road from Nashville next week. So maybe. We'll see. No direct plans right now. I typically play those type of things by ear. Look at the tickets day of, and if they're cheap enough, I'll go jump in and go to see those shows, and as long as I don't have anything else going on. But AEW, Monday Night Raw, anytime they're in the Nashville area, I'm going to try to go. So, yeah, there you go. Connor Sports Channel, there's your answer to that. Just jumping on real quick. Haven't done a live stream in quite a while. Figured, we got the final Titans game of the 2025 season, the 2024/2025 season coming up tomorrow. Houston Texans coming to Nashville. Titans need to lose to kind of secure the best possible draft pick possible, because that's clearly what we need more than anything right now. Tough season, tough year. What's going to happen tomorrow? So I thought I'd jump on, talk a little bit about that game, kind of update some stuff that's been going on around Nashville SC, some other stuff in the world. Just chat. Just haven't been live in a while, so I figured might as well jump on tonight. I didn't have a whole lot going on. Figured might as well bring it back. 2025, new year, new me, new live stream. So Titans Texans tomorrow. Obviously, the game is going to be one the Titans probably need to lose for the betterment of the franchise, because I think we could drop all the way to like something crazy like the 8th or 9th seed or 8th or 9th draft pick. So, it's going to be a tough one. Texans, I think they're going to play their players because they need to get some rhythm going. They've been in a bad run of form. They want to get back on the right track before they head into the playoffs. Don't want to get a whole lot into too much of like the overall Titans big picture stuff, because I think we'll do an end of season final wrap up of the full season stuff where we'll talk about all that, like who should be fired, who should get a second chance, what should be done going forward, that kind of stuff. So just looking at the game tomorrow, like it's going to be a weird one. Like it's weird. I don't know that I've ever remember there being a game like this where I'm going to the game. It's so hard to like, you don't want to root against your team. Like I want the Titans to win. I want them to do well, but like it's so detrimental to the franchise at this point in time to win tomorrow. Like currently lined up to have the 2nd overall draft pick if things fall the way they fall. Could jump all the way up to 1st overall if the Patriots somehow mess up and beat the Bills. It's a weird day. It's a weird feeling to like be kind of halfway rooting against your team, but halfway like also, my buddy who's going to the game with me, he texted me like, are we rooting for the Titans tomorrow? And I said, I think we want them to lose, but not be embarrassed. Like show some signs of life, show something that, obviously Brian Callahan, first season, new head coach, a lot of question marks if that was a good decision, a lot of question marks around our general manager, a lot of question marks around the whole team. You have as bad a season as the Titans have, everything's going to be questioned. But I think you want to, if you're a fan of the Titans, which I am, obviously, I think my goal for tomorrow is, I hate to say it, I don't want to win the game. I want us to get a better draft pick, but I want us to lose in a way where it somehow also makes me feel better about the organization, about the team moving forward. Like, I have a lot of question marks about Brian Callahan. I'll get into those, in the postseason wrap-up video, I'm sure, but I want to see something that gives me hope that, like, not only, because if you lose and you get a good draft pick, but you don't really have faith, you don't really trust the people that are running the organization, what's the benefit of having a top pick? Like you're going to mess it up either way. Like the Browns who played earlier today, like how many top draft picks have the Cleveland Browns had? in the last 20 years, and they are still just one of the worst organizations in football. So like it's kind of like I want to lose. I want to get the best draft pick possible, but I want to lose in a way and have the game somehow portray to me that the coaches, the front office, the whoever has the right people in place to make the right decisions needed with said draft pick. Because if you get the first overall draft pick and you screw it up, it's even worse. You're just messing your franchise up even worse. That's my preview for Titans Texans. Like I just there's no X's and O's, there's no analysis, there's no ins and outs of what the actual game is going to be. It's the weirdest game in Titans history, borderline. And we're going to be wearing the stupid Oilers jerseys again, which I love the Oilers jersey. I tweeted this out the other day, and like somebody kind of like commented like, "Oh, hey, I kind of like the jerseys. I think it's a good idea." And I'm like, I have nothing against the Oilers jerseys. I think they're great. I kind of wish we could like hybrid, take the old Oilers jerseys, merge them with like the modern Titans jerseys, and find like a in between as our permanent jerseys. The problem is last year we wore the Oilers jerseys, like picked to wear them against the Texans, kind of rub it in the Texans' face, like, ha ha ha, we still got the old Houston Oilers kits. They're still, we own that. That's not a part of your lore. That's not a part of your history. They came into Nashville. We wore those jerseys. They beat the crap out of us. I don't want that to happen again. That's what borderline that might have got Mike Vrabel fired, was like Amy Adams Strunk, our owner, feeling like embarrassed that we got beat so bad wearing the Oilers jersey. So that's the only issue. I was like, I would love to, I love the Oilers jerseys. I would love it when we wear them. I probably would not wear them in a game where it's like, you're going to be so much more embarrassed if you lose. Like if we'd worn them against the Vikings like 5 weeks ago, lost that game, wouldn't have mattered. Everybody would have been like, oh, that was cool. The Oilers jerseys look good in that game. If you wear the Oilers jerseys and lose against the Houston Texans in a home game, it amplifies everything like 500 bajillion times. Got a couple comments that have come in. I'll throw these up right now. Any predictions for Bengals versus Steelers? I got the game on right now. If you kind of see my eyes darting over there, I've got it on the TV right now. I'm watching it live. I bet the Bengals. I went pretty heavy betting the Bengals in this game just because I feel like, I don't know, like the Bengals are like one of those teams like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. It's so hard to like imagine like why are they not a better team than they were this season? It's probably stupid brain by me. But they need this game a lot more than the Steelers do. The Steelers are in regardless. Win for the Steelers might affect their seeding potentially, but the Bengals have to have it all. And I like the overall talent on the Bengals offense better, and the Steelers have kind of been sputtering the last couple of weeks. So I took the Bengals. Just I don't know. I like Joe Burrow. Whatever reason, I should hate the Bengals because they're like a boogeyman for the Titans for the last few seasons, but they're the most likable, hateable team I can think of. I don't know if that makes much sense, but I bet the Bengals. I hope the Bengals win. Don't know if that's really a prediction, but that's what I'm at right now. German Roger in the chat said, yeah, we want the number one pick. Obviously, because I think the one thing that's kind of got glossed over, a lot of people were really excited with the way the results went with the Giants winning last week, that we moved up to the second pick because they're looking at it going, oh, the Patriots have their quarterback. They already have Drake May. We're the first team on the board that needs a quarterback. Like, a lot of things go into here because, like, first of all, the quarterbacks in the draft aren't that great. I'm not sold on any of them. But being second is just as bad as being like, third or fourth almost, because like the Patriots being first, knowing they have their quarterback of the future in Drake May, they have a chance to load up on draft picks, trade up for whoever wants to trade up to get Shador or Cam Ward, whoever they decide is the number one overall quarterback, and that team basically jumps us. And we don't, as the Titans, have the draft capital to fight other teams off. There's going to be teams with a lot more draft capital that can offer a lot more to the Patriots to get that first overall pick. So I think the best case scenario for the Titans, look competitive, don't embarrass yourselves, lose to the Texans, and then somehow the Patriots beat the Bills tomorrow, which the Bills are benching everybody, not playing anybody. Gerard Mayo maybe is coaching for his job, so maybe he's more motivated to win for the Patriots than Callahan is. Because like I kind of feel like almost like in a weird way, like it would be crazy to fire Callahan after one season. As much as I kind of look at things and think like I don't know that this was the best decision possible. I feel like he's probably maybe a little safer than Gerard Mayo is, so maybe he doesn't have to coach to win tomorrow the way Gerard Mayo might have to for the Patriots. So, yeah, I mean, if we're second, we're still in a tough spot because anybody that wants that first pick, that wants, if they say Shador is the guy, if they say Cam Ward is the guy, they can jump us and, you know, take the Patriots pick, get that player. But, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. We'll get into more of that as the offseason plays out. German Rodriguez also said, I wish we had a chance tomorrow. We do have a chance tomorrow. That's a scary thing for weirdly kind of rooting against your own team. We beat the Texans. Maybe the best game we've played all season was like whatever it was, like 5 or 6 weeks ago. We beat the Texans in Houston. We have a chance tomorrow. That's what's scary is like we're at a point where like we want to lose. It sucks to want to lose, but we want to lose. And the team we're playing is a team we've already beat, who doesn't really have much to play for. I mean, their seeding is locked in. Their position in the playoff is locked in. All the Texans really have to play for tomorrow is to try to get some momentum, try to get some rhythm going as they go into the playoffs. Like it's a weird spot to be in. Tornado said he just started watching and said, who do you want in the draft? And he came back and said, personally, I want to trade down and draft Abdul Carter. Ultimately, like, to me, he's a great pick. I think he would be phenomenal. He would give us so much of what we need, especially on defense. Pass rush is something that's been a huge issue this season. He would fix so much. He's an elite level player at that position. He would be a home run pick. But the bigger issue is quarterback. Like, I don't think Will Levis is going to be here. I don't think Mason Rudolph's going to be here. I don't know, what's going to happen in the market with quarterbacks moving around. Obviously, like, I think, we're looking at the playoffs this year. Every team, with the exception of maybe, I think there's one team that's kind of wonky. Just about every team in the playoffs that's making the playoffs this year has a legit, established franchise quarterback. There's like nobody that's kind of wandering in with like some kind of like, Sam Darnold's like the wonkiest one. He's kind of like the Ryan Tannehill-esque one where it's like a retread guy that we brought back in and brought back life to him. The Vikings did, And so if the Titans can find a guy like that, like, I mean, the options this offseason look so crazy. Like if Sam Darnold was going to be a free agent and the Titans could go get Sam Darnold, that would be insane. That would be probably good, but I don't think the Vikings are going to let him go. Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins. I mean, Tornado, he's coming in right now. He says Rodgers or Cousins and draft a quarterback next year. Those guys are 40. They looked terrible all season long. Had Achilles injuries. As a fellow 40-year-old, I will admit it. I've denied that I'm 40, but I am 40, and I can tell you, if I tore my Achilles at this age, I probably wouldn't do anything for like 5 years. I would be bedridden for 5 years. Jesta, my beautiful wife, would have to bring me breakfast in bed, just continually bring food to me. There's no way if they're great. I should not compare myself to Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins. They're high-level athletes and everything like that. But I think we've seen this year, like, you get those major injuries at that point in your career, at that point in your life, you don't necessarily bounce back. And I don't think I want the circus that comes with Aaron Rodgers. I don't want that coming to Tennessee. Kirk Cousins, I could maybe go for Kirk Cousins, but like he's been so weird where he's like flat track bully, where he's like always really good in like the easy games, but then kind of fades in the tough games. And another guy that's been mentioned is potentially coming here, the same kind of history, Derek Carr. I'm not sold on any of the quarterbacks that are available in the draft. I'm not sold on any of the free agent quarterbacks. And that's the thing that's the most troubling about the Titan situation is like there's no – everything just looks like just throw it at the wall and hope something sticks, like when it comes to the quarterback position, because like right now there's no like clear cut, like this is the way to go. This is what we need to do. And that's going to be a huge thing. So like Abdul Carter, you mentioned, I would love to get Abdul Carter. He would be – I think he's almost a can't miss type player. Like he would come in – give us a huge boost on defense, but ultimately, like, I mean, you look at the Browns who played earlier today. He was banged up, didn't have as good of a season as he had, still was almost like the NFL sack leader, though. But Myles Garrett, I mean, he's arguably the best defensive player in the league, and the Browns suck. Why do the Browns suck? They don't have a quarterback. They had a quarterback. Baker Mayfield. And for some reason, they got a little wonky, got a little gun shy, and traded him away and brought in Deshaun Watson. At least we're not the Browns. That's one thing. The Titans have not got to that level of like the Browns level of franchise. So, I can say that for sure. Shout out my guy, the Bear of Texas. Follow all his podcasts. He's doing mostly audio versions of podcasts now, but he's got some great stuff. Look at him up on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you can find them. Sports Verdicts, Into the Net FC, Ringside Chaos. He's kind of like me. He covers kind of everything. Whatever he's interested in, he's going to do stuff on. Great podcast, great audio content. Definitely look him up at wherever you can find his stuff at. Bearman, if you got some links, share them in the chat for everybody to see if you want to. German Rodriguez, Sanders is 50-50, I feel. It's weird because he's, a lot of people like him, seems to have the right tools, but I always am kind of like weird about like quarterbacks, especially who didn't compete at the highest level in college. You know what I mean? Like, he was at Colorado. He put up some yards, he put up some stats and everything, but they were never good. Like they were much better than they were before he and Dion got there. That's no doubt. But like, I kind of like more quarterbacks like that have competed for championships, that have competed for real stuff. Like I like that pedigree. I like quarterbacks to have that pedigree coming out. Like, it's stupid. Like Josh Allen's kind of like a weird, to me, an outlier where he's, Patrick Mahomes, those guys. I like my quarterback to have really played at a really high level, competed for really, really, really high level stuff, really, really high level stuff. But I don't know. It's weird. I would take Shedeur probably just because I feel like that is such a desperate need for us as quarterback. And I feel like that's, something like if I'm Rand Carthon, the general manager of the Titans, I draft Shedeur Sanders. You're going to get fired one way or the other probably if that doesn't work out. But like, I don't think people are going to blame you as much for that as they would if you draft Abdul Carter and he gets like 12 sacks a year, but you have the worst offense in the NFL for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, I feel like you take a swing on a quarterback, you can survive that more than you pass on a quarterback and he goes somewhere else and is great. Whatever. I don't know. That's a weird way of thinking, but links don't work. Oh man, sorry about that, buddy. Bear said his links don't work, but search on iTunes, search on Spotify, Into the Net FC, Sports Verdicts is new one, which is great, and of course, blanking on what the other one was. Sorry, man. Ringside Chaos. He also does a Dallas Cowboys podcast, but I don't know the name of that one because unfortunately, that's one of the ones that Bearman, I skipped that one a little bit more than your other ones just because I'm not that involved in the Cowboys, but he also covers the Rangers. He's got a lot of good stuff. Like if you find him on Twitter, the Bearman of Texas, he posts all the links to everything there. Give him a follow, give him some support there. He's great. What do you think about Milroe? No. Milroe is like a more athletic version of Milton, the guy that just came out of UT last year. He's got a cannon arm. He's a good athlete. He can run, but saw Alabama just get smoked by Michigan. He threw like multiple interceptions. He's not the guy. Like the thing is, I think we need a more ready guy. Like he could go somewhere, like be a project for the future. There he goes. Cowboys talk. It's Cowboys talk. Cowboys talk. Cowboys podcast that actually buries the team. Yeah, Bearman doesn't pull any punches. Like he's a fan of these teams, but I would say he is a guy who does not pull any punches. So if you want to hear real, honest, like brutal takes on these situations, these teams, these sports, he's the guy to go to. Yeah, but we'll get more into draft stuff. We'll get more into like Titan stuff as we get closer. Once the season's officially done, I think by Monday even we'll know one way or the other if the organization makes any key decisions in terms of turning over the leadership. I don't think they will. But they might. And if they do, we'll certainly jump on. We'll do some updates, some live streams to, address those issues as they come up. But we'll get more into like the draft stuff once we officially know Titans position, once we officially like kind of see where the tea leaves are falling in terms of what's going to happen in the offseason. Did want to talk a little bit about the college football playoffs. there's been a lot of discourse about it, like the playoffs. I think they've been awesome. Like there's been some blowouts. It's not been great, but I mean, like I would much rather have the playoffs we have this year than like the BCS era, 2 teams picked by computer, or even like the last couple of years of just 4 teams in the playoffs. I have loved this 12-team playoff. I think at the end of the day, whoever wins at the end, more so than in any history of college football, we're going to be able to say that was the best team in college football. They deserve to be the champion. They're going to win it all. My picks for the Final Four, if you want to know, I think it's hard to pick against Ohio State. That Michigan game is so weird. Like that's the one time all year they looked weak and soft and bizarre. And like, I think Texas is going to give Ohio State a better game than people expect. But I'd be shocked if Ohio State doesn't win that one. So I'll take Ohio State, and I just can't take James Franklin in a big game and like a key game, important game till he does it. You know, I think he's got like a crazy like bad record against like top 5 teams or top 10 teams or whatever it is. So I'm taking Notre Dame. It's going to be crazy. Notre Dame, Ohio State is my pick for the final. That's what I'm saying for the college football playoff. Tornado says, I think Will Levis will have his best game of the season. I'm very afraid of that because Will Levis is the type of dude who will just he's got the tools. That's the problem. It's like it seems to me with him, it's more the mental side of the game. He's got strong arm. He's a super athlete. He can do everything you would want your quarterback to do. He just doesn't have the mental side of it right. But every once in a while, he can put together like a masterful game, like Miami last year, Atlanta last year. There was a game, the first Houston game, maybe like this year. He has these games where he doesn't fall into the traps. He doesn't like let this stuff get in his way. And he looks like he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I'm really worried he's going to have that type of game against Houston tomorrow. Bearman, the one, says Ohio State cannot lose. I mean, I would agree with you. They look so good right now, but like I gotta wonder how much like Oregon didn't play for like a month. Like the buys, I think, really hurt the teams that got the buys. And I mean, all 4 teams that had a buy in the college. Granted, Boise State should not have been a top 4 seed. Arizona State should not have been top 4 seed. Georgia, Oregon probably, had an argument to be a top 4 seed, but not playing for 3.5 weeks is crazy in football. It's crazy in any sport to like be able to like have almost a month off and be expected to just come back out and like play a team that played like 6 days ago. Like you haven't hit. You haven't gone against a full speed defense in almost a month. That's a crazy, like, I think I told this to a friend, like they're not going to contract. They're not going to take games away. So I almost think they have to go to a 16-team playoff and get rid of the buys. Just everybody plays first round, everybody plays second round, everybody plays. Because like, or adjust when the games happen. Because like for Oregon and Georgia to have basically not played for almost a month, and Ohio State looked great. I'm not taking anything away from Ohio State, not taking anything away from Notre Dame, who beat Georgia. But I mean, like, there was clearly some, like, as we say in the wrestling industry, that I'm not really a part of, but in the wrestling industry, they say ring rust. There was clearly ring rust for Georgia. There was clearly ring rust for Notre Dame. And I think having the buys, it's one thing like the NFL. You get a bye going into the playoffs in the NFL, it's 1 week off. It's just 1 week to recuperate, recharge your batteries. The buys that the teams in the college football playoff got were like 3.5 weeks. It's crazy. That's way too long to take off, and expect to be able to just like, unless you're just like insanely talented, hit the ground running and just have rhythm. So I give Ohio State credit for what they did, obviously, against Oregon, but I think going against Texas, who had their scare against Arizona State, but they're kind of in their rhythm. They found their way. I think it's be a good matchup in that one. I think Notre Dame probably, I like them more against Penn State because I think Notre Dame's defense might be the best defense left in the tournament. So it'll be interesting. It's just fun. Like I said, I've loved this playoff. Don't care about the blowouts, don't care about the mismatches. I think they probably should like look at like figuring out a better way to do the seeding, to maybe not do buys, something going forward, but it's been fun. I would much rather have this than what we've had for the last 500 years. 49-21 win for the Buckeyes, says the one, the Bearman of Texas. I don't know. We'll see. That Jeremiah Smith dude is legit, though. I'll give him that. On Monday, we will see. Thank you very much for everything, Mason Rudolph. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Good way to sum it up there. Yeah. The only other thing I kind of wanted to hit on, I'm not going to do picks or predictions for the rest of the games for this NFL weekend, just because it feels weirdly like this is like the least important last weekend in NFL history. Like it feels like so much is already locked in, so much is already done and dusted. Obviously, like the playoff, we talked a lot about the Titans. Draft stuff can happen a lot. The playoffs, it's kind of like I think there's like if the Bengals win, the Broncos have to win to get in, but I think that's kind of like the only like major thing that's left to like decide. Obviously, the huge game Sunday night, Vikings versus Lions for the 1 seed for the division, that's a huge one, but it feels like across the board, everything else is a very, 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 very weird, unimportant week in football. So I'm not going to talk too much about that other than just to say that, like, I'm super pumped we get that Vikings-Lions game because that's a great final game of the regular season, especially compared to, like, you think back, like, what it was 3-4 years ago when, like, the Sunday night football flex game was Titans versus Jaguars when both teams were like 7-8. It was like a flex game because it was the only game for a playoff spot left. It was like, ugh, at least we get two of the best teams in the league playing for the top seed in the last game of the NFL season. So that'll be fun. But otherwise, it's a lot of weird, wonky, like nothing really matters type stuff going on this Sunday. Tornado says, do you think Aaron Rodgers will retire? I think it depends what comes his way. He's like he wants to be this aloof, kind of like goofy, like I'm gonna put my toes in the sand and see where the beach takes me type guy. But if somebody comes with and offers him a contract for a significant amount of money, I don't see him not taking it. And I think there's some teams that'll be interested. I could see the Giants now that they've kind of played themselves out of potentially drafting a quarterback. That makes a lot of sense in a weird way. Sign him. He just has to like move his locker across the hallway at MetLife Stadium and doesn't have to buy a new house or anything like that. There's certainly been like rumblings around him in the Titans. I think at one point in time, I don't know if he ever bought the house, but there was definitely a situation where he was like looking at houses in Franklin, Tennessee at one point in time a couple years ago. If there's a market for him, if somebody wants him, I think he will come back because I do think he has a little bit of like he's a weird combination of aloof, but also cocky. Like I could see him just being like, I don't need this anymore and fading into Bolivia. But I could also see him being like, I'm not going out like this. I'm going to come back and prove everybody wrong and get like one more Super Bowl somewhere. So it's hard to say. I think it depends on what the people want from him. Nolan Grayson said, thoughts on Saquon sitting out versus the Giants? Yeah, this is a real tough one because I mean, like, I don't know the exact number. It's like 100-something yards he needs to potentially break the single season record for rushing yards, and that'll be. I don't envy Nick Sirianni on this one because like it's such a tough decision. Like let him go for it because that is be such a great moment. I mean, we saw Derrick Henry here with the Titans. Came close the one season, was on pace to break it the next season, then broke his foot. Then just kind of the Titans fizzled into nothing in his last couple of years here. You really probably only get one crack at doing something like this. And, Saquon's had his injury issues too. Like this is, not been the smoothest career so far for him. So it's like, you're kind of, this is almost your one shot at it. But at the same time, it's like if you play Saquon in an absolutely, completely, totally 100% meaningless game where win, lose, or draw, nothing's going to change. The only thing you can potentially do is get him a record. And he blows out his knee again. Like if he had no injuries his entire career, just was like the peak of like physicality, no history of injuries, it'd be such an easy decision. Let him go out there, see how the game flows, see if maybe he can, get things going, go from there. But he's not been healthy. He's had like this is the only season like really in his career that he's been consistently healthy. So I can't blame Nick Sirianni for saying, "Hey, we got to prioritize the playoffs." And I got to imagine, Saquon kind of said, he was disappointed in the decision, but I do kind of think if he really went to Nick Sirianni and said, like, I want to play, I want this record, he might get his way. But I don't blame Nick Sirianni at all. impossible decision. It's an impossible decision because it's such a like a, once in a lifetime shot for a running back, like to have a shot at doing that. But also with his injury track record and what the Eagles are poised to do, like they legit, are right there neck and neck with the Lions, the Vikings as being the top contenders to, go to the Super Bowl and potentially win it. So I wouldn't take the risk, but it is an insanely tough decision Nick Sirianni has to make on that one. Lions deserve that 1 seed. Yeah, they've obviously been through it more than any other team in NFL history. They've just the numbers they're coming up with this season where it's like this is the first time in franchise history they've won 14 games. They've won more games this season than they won for like a 10-year stretch. It's just crazy. Love to see it. Like they're a team that's easy to root for from a outside perspective because they've had it so rough. A team like the Titans can look at them and be like, hey, we haven't had it nearly as bad as the Lions have. If they can do it, we can do it. So, I mean, the Lions are definitely a team that I have my eye on, a team that I want to support. Vikings, too. Vikings, somewhat similar, too. Like, they've been good, but they've been, like, weirdly, like, just unsuccessful in the big moments. So, teams like that, I want to see teams like that succeed because it gives fans of Titans, fans of, Raiders, Browns, whoever, hope. Yeah. Last kind of thing I wanted to hit on real quick, and then we'll kind of wrap it up, was Nashville SC offseason. It's been a very busy offseason for Nashville SC, busier than I really expected. Kind of don't really have like much to say about what's happened so far because the players we brought in, I don't really know too much about them. A lot of Scandinavian midfielders. It feels like Mike Jacobs took like a Mediterranean cruise and like got stranded in Switzerland or something like that and just started bringing all the players back with him. But we've done what I thought we needed to do in the offseason. We needed to completely overhaul the midfield. We've done that. Are the players we brought in good? Time will tell. Some weird decisions. Traded Lucas McNaughton for a bunch of GAM. I think they were just like really looking at stuff where it's like, let's maximize what little roster flexibility we have. So got rid of Lucas. That opened up an international roster spot. Traded Shaq Moore away. I think that was more about getting his salary off the books. And he was a player who still had some, value as opposed to like a Randall Leal who we probably couldn't have got anything for if we wanted to trade. So traded players that had some value to open up some flexibility with the roster. But now it feels like we fixed the midfield, or we've at least attempted to fix the midfield, but we're going into the season with Julian Gaines, who showed flashes, who showed promise as our right back. Probably need another player there. Definitely feels like we need another center back. We definitely do not have another player that I would consider like a first choice starting quality center back on the roster right now. So hopefully there's moves left to go. Like I said, I'm cautiously optimistic about the players they brought in because they're the type of profile of players we need. Have to wait and see what happens when they get on the field. Torno said, I like Shaq Moore move, but we need to get a veteran right back. Yeah, like that's things like, I think Julian Gaines showed flashes. I think he's definitely a player you can maybe like look to be the future of that position. But right now, like, I think he's the only right back on the roster, and that's probably not a good spot to be in. But yeah. Goalkeeper, I think that's a long-term thing. We signed a dude who's like I think from FC Dallas or from Houston's like kind of academy, kind of replaced Ben Martino as maybe our new young goalkeeper of the future type player. So we'll see what happens there. German Rodri says Nashville could use Aaron Long. Yeah, I mean, like I definitely wouldn't mind, a veteran, proven center back to kind of like be the real, first choice partner to Walker Zimmerman because like Bauer, Marr both have been okay in spots, but there's neither one that I would feel confident saying like, hey, that's a first choice center back. Like they're both like good players to have in your squad, but I don't feel like we have a legit top tier real first choice center back to go with Walker right now, which is kind of troubling. So, but a lot of stuff can happen right at the end of the window. We last year we signed like 6 players in like the weird like preseason window, like Coleman. They didn't do anything. We signed like Brett Coleman, Sedic, just a bunch of like random like late signings, and obviously next summer you can make a lot of moves when the summer window is open. So that can still happen. I'll get more into Nashville SC stuff once we get closer to the season, obviously. But I mean, there'd been a lot of activity, a lot more than I thought there was going to be. So I wanted to at least hit on it a little bit. Do you think we could ever get a big name guy like Oscar or Sergio Ramos? It's interesting. If you asked me this like 2, 3 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. But Nashville, it's growing as a market. It's growing as a place that, people want to live. I mean, like, I don't know that like the European, like world class, like football players have seen the benefits of living here that, others have. Like, I mean, like, it's crazy. I was watching like the Nashville New Year's Eve celebration the other night on CBS, and like I knew she lived here, but just seeing her be up there as like a representative of Nashville, Nicole Kidman, was kind of mind blowing. And obviously, she moved here because she married Keith Urban, that whole deal. But like, I do think those highest of high level players are still going to prioritize the New Yorks, the Miamis, the LAs, Chicago, even Washington of the world, like the big markets that they know that they've heard of. Like, you go to England right now. Like I've been to England a couple times in my life. And they say, "Where are you from?" You say, "Oh, Nashville." And they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And like, "Oh, it's Tennessee." And they're like, "Oh, Jack Daniels, Elvis Presley." Like it's not like a place like, that's in the mindset of like the high level, like European type people, the way New York, Miami, Los Angeles, even Washington and Chicago are. And it also doesn't seem like that's Nashville's mindset. Like Nashville SC's mindset is to go after that type of player. I think we're following more the Kansas City, Philadelphia, Atlanta, um, model of like find young players before they're good, or find players who are really good at like I said, we've picked the Scandinavian market dry this offseason, like going into that pool of players, like, South Carolina or Atlanta, like built their whole team out of like players that were coming out of like random South American leagues back in the day. So I think that's more the Nashville SC model. I mean, I don't think it's impossible that like a really like big level, like European star level player would eventually come to Nashville, but doesn't seem to be our model for how we're building a roster. And I still don't think we quite, while Nashville is a growing city, it's becoming an it city, becoming a, transplant city. In American culture, I don't know that it's bleeded into the European culture in a way that like, high level European soccer players are going to go, "Oh, yeah, definitely want to go play at Nashville SC." But we definitely have the finances to do it if we wanted to. I mean, like we've got one of the, wealthier owners, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in John Ingram. So if he wanted to really break the bank and pay somebody to come do it, it could potentially happen, but I don't think that's the way we are looking to build our roster. What do you think about the Club World Cup games at Geodis? It's what I expected. I did not think, looking at all the other cities that were host cities for the Club World Cup, that we were going to get any good games. Like, because that's with the expanded Club World Cup, it's not like the, creme de la creme. There's a bunch of like lower level teams. So it's what I expected. I'm not surprised by it. I'll try to go to at least one, just for the experience, but I didn't expect we were getting like a Real Madrid or like a Chelsea coming to Nashville. I thought we might have weirdly got a Miami game just because it's not that far, sort of. I thought Inter Miami might play a game here, but wasn't shocked at all by the slot of games we got there. But I'll definitely try to go to at least one just for the experience. Worried about the Scandinavian market because I feel like it's so unproven. I hope we can bring in a veteran like Russell or Rui Diaz. Yeah, that is the one thing. We are definitely putting our eggs into one basket with the players Nashville SC has signed. This offseason, they're from a very specific area of the world. They've played in a very specific market, and they have a very specific profile. So, and like I said, that's kind of what Atlanta did when they built their initial roster that they had so much success with, and if it works, it's going to work really well. If it doesn't, it's not going to be great. But one thing I have said that gives me hope is like there's a lot of patchwork stuff going on this season. We have a lot more apparently roster flexibility next offseason in terms of, Zimmerman will be out of contract. I'd like to bring him back, but he likely would not be back as a DP if we did bring him back. Leal's contract will come off the books. Patch things in, rebuild a team to where we can be back to being competitive and maybe even fun is the goal for this season. I don't know that we're going to necessarily be like chasing a MLS Cup this season, but we're going to try to get back to being competitive and then maybe 2026 is where he can really really push to being like going after a cup again. Nashville likes bringing the League MX teams. Yeah, I mean, like I'm old enough, before we had Nashville SC, before they were here, like we used to get like, a handful of like exhibition games here. Like I remember going to Nissan Stadium and we had like a exhibition game, LA Galaxy came here and played against Chivas. I believe it was Chivas. Was it Club America? It was either Club Americas or Chivas. But yeah, there's a huge Hispanic population in Nashville. There's a huge, audience for that. So it makes a lot of sense. How about Joseph Martinez for backup? I don't think he is anywhere close to what he once was. And it seems like he's been a little bit disruptive the last couple of places he's been. So don't know that I'd be interested in that just because there seem to be issues with him in Montreal, not being happy that he wasn't playing as much as he wanted to last offseason. So he doesn't seem to think he's a backup. He doesn't seem to want to be a backup. So I don't know that it's a good idea to bring him as a backup. As an Arsenal supporter, I'm hoping United get 3 points against Liverpool tomorrow, but sadly, it's looking like Liverpool are winning the league this season. Yeah, I don't know how much I've mentioned. I don't think I've talked about it on live streams, but I think I mentioned it in one of my recent vlogs. This is the absolute worst season ever as a Manchester United supporter because City have fallen apart. They are a disaster, and I can't enjoy it because we suck so bad. And on top of that, like, shout out to you, Nolan, being an Arsenal supporter. I don't like Arsenal. Arsenal being good doesn't hurt me as much as City or Liverpool being good hurts me. Chelsea hurts me more than Arsenal being, because one of my best friends is a Chelsea fan, so having to hear directly from somebody always makes it worse. But like, City just falling apart. I can't enjoy it. And Liverpool just run away with the league, and now they're going to tie United for 20 total titles. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Get ready to see Man United get relegated. I don't think it's going to get that bad. I think some things will click into place. I do think United will do something in January. Like it's going to be tough. It's always tough for any team to make moves in January, but like I like Ruben Amorim. I like his style of play. I like him as a manager. I wish we would have fired Ten Hag. I was a supporter of Ten Hag. I'd never like to be the guy that goes against the coach, that goes against the manager. Maybe it's because I've been a coach in my life and I'm hesitant to ever go against coaches or managers, but I wasn't anti bringing Ten Hag back, but within like 2 games, it was so clear that was such a stupid decision and such a mistake. But I don't think it's going to get so bad that we're going to get relegated. I mean, there's like freaking teams that have won like 1 game all season long, like in the Premier League, but yeah, I don't know. It could get that bad. We'll see. But I also think City's going to get all their relegation points hit against them. They're going to get relegated, so we won't have to worry about that anyway, but we'll see. Richard, my old buddy in the chat jumping in. Hey, Richard, how's it going in the Great White North from up in Canada? Weird, certainly a weird last couple of months for Toronto FC and the Canadian national team for Richard's guys up there. All the stuff that's been going on there. Oh, my Toronto team sucked too, plus I'm a Spurs fan. Life is sad. I've been there. Yeah, we're glad that we all can commiserate together and can all be in the same boat. But like, if any of y'all watched my kind of 2025 relaunch video, I said I'm going to make 2025 the year of things not sucking. So I can't control what the Titans do. I can't control what Manchester United does. I can't control what Nashville SC does. I can't control Vandy football, Vandy basketball, the 2 best teams in my life right now, somehow, bizarrely. We can't control what our sports teams do. I'll get frustrated. I'll get mad. There's no doubt about that. Sports fandom is a disease and you can't fight it. But I'm going to make a concerted effort in 2025 to not let it kill me the way it has for basically my entire adult life. And the things that I can control, I'm going to try to find a way to control them not sucking. That is I said it in the video that launched 2025. I said 2025, the year of things not sucking. And I can't control all that. Some things are going to suck. But I'm going to do my best to not let it bring me down, to, just be like, that sucked. United got beat 17-0 by Liverpool on Sunday. I went to the Titans game, and the Titans beat the Texans and gave up a really good draft pick. You know what? It happens. I got a long life left ahead of me. I'm going to see a lot more Manchester United games. I'm going to see a lot more Tennessee Titans games. And they might be good at some point in time. They're not good right now, but they may be someday. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's my goal for 2025. Appreciate everybody who's watched along. This was a fun one tonight. I'm glad to get back in and do a live stream after not having done one in a while. Like I say this every time I do live streams. I'm going to try to bring these back a little bit more regularly, try to keep these going, This is a good question. This is a very good question. Can you switch your sports team loyalty later in life? Ooh, this is a good philosophical question to end the stream on tonight. I think you have to stay with your local teams. I don't think you can abandon your teams that you're local to. And also depends on how long you've been a fan of the team. Like for me, so the one big team that's not a local team for me, obviously Manchester United and Atlanta Braves. I'm fans of those two teams. They're not local to me. Atlanta's semi-local to me because like they're the closest baseball team to me. And I've been fans of both of those teams for over a decade. But before Nashville SC came into existence, I was semi a fan of Columbus Crew because I'd been up to Columbus a few times, went up there for some of the USA, Mexico, Dos Acero games. Man, I wish I was vlogging back then. Those have been some fun games to vlog back in the day. But I was semi a fan of Columbus Crew because been up there a few times. Love Frankie Haydock. He's my favorite all-time U.S. men's national team player. But somewhere along the way, even if Nashville SC hadn't come into existence, like when Atlanta came into existence, I kind of thought like, Atlanta's closer to me than Columbus. Maybe I should start being an Atlanta fan. I think in certain circumstances, you can change. You can't abandon your local teams, and you can't abandon teams you've been a fan of for more than a decade. Those would be the rules I would set out. So if like there's a team like, you've jumped on the bandwagon for, been following them for 2 or 3 years, get off. But also try to get off at a right time. Like don't get off at the bottom. Like if you're like your city doesn't have an NFL team and you're a Baltimore Ravens fan. You decide you're a Ravens fan because you like Lamar Jackson. Like people in Kentucky, this is a great, thank you, Richard. This is going to be a great little thing I just hit on here. So Kentucky doesn't have any professional sports teams. But I could see Louisville Cardinal fans liking the Baltimore Ravens because their best ever player, Lamar Jackson, plays for them. So you can be a Baltimore Ravens fan right now where it's good. But if you want to jump off the bandwagon of the Ravens, you got to do it before they sink. So like if you decide, I don't know, if Louisville has like a great running back that goes to the Panthers, that you decide you like that guy better than Lamar Jackson, you can jump over and be a Panthers fan, but you can't do it like after like a 1-16 season if the Ravens have a 1-16 season. And you also can't jump directly to a direct rival. So you can't like decide I'm not a Ravens fan anymore. Now I'm a Steelers fan. Can't do that. You got to go as far away from whatever the team you were supporting before was. We've made those official. Those are official rules. Document it. Put it in the record books. That's how it goes. Richard says, we all can celebrate together that Manchester City sucks this year. Yes, it is a great thing that Manchester City has fallen apart, but that's what I'm saying. How much better would it be for Manchester City to collapse if Spurs and United were also having a good season? It's like we're all going down the toilet together. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining in. Those of you that joined in the chat, those of you that watched, it's been great. I'm really happy to have been back and doing a live stream. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to try to do more of these as we go into 2025, although I do always say that, and then I don't do one for like 3 months. So we'll see what happens. Appreciate everybody who watched. If this is your first time watching, please subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're watching. Did multicast this one. I don't always multicast, but I did multicast this one. But follow along. There's going to be more adventures to come. Tomorrow, I am going to Nissan Stadium for the sad stack finale game of the Tennessee Titans 2024-2025 season. There will be a vlog that will come from it. I'm doing 2025 every day. I'm finding what the national day of whatever it is. Today was National Spaghetti Day, so I ate some spaghetti. It's cold now, so it's not as good. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your bagels. We'll see you soon.